Bane is one of Batman's greatest villains, yet he's nowhere to be found in the new reboot. Could it be because he's being saved as the main baddie for the sequel? Let's discuss. The Batman is shaping up to be one awesome movie. As director Matt Reeves slowly pulls back the curtain on his Robert Pattinson reboot, us fans keep getting one pleasant surprise after another. Not only does the look and feel of things like the new Batsuit and the new Batmobile make my heart beat faster than Batman's original theme song, but all the casting news has me more excited than Mr. Freeze on a snow day. I mean, just look at this amazing cast and tell me it doesn't make you at least a little bit giddy. Okay, maybe giddy's a strong word when it's clear the Gotham City is packed to the brim with despicable villains. But it's still exciting. You got Colin Farrell as the Penguin, you got Paul Dano as the Riddler, you got Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and if that wasn't enough, throw in John Turturro as the mob boss Carmine Falcone, and you got one stacked cast of villains, baby. It's so cool how Matt Reeves is starting his reboot by having Batman face a whole bunch of villains at once. It's always risky to throw in more than one primary villain into a superhero movie, but given our previous knowledge of these characters, I think it's gonna work out. Of course, there's one villain who hasn't been mentioned yet. With a ton of villains plaguing Gotham in this first movie and pushing Batman to his limits, it would make sense for that to lead to one big bad boy for the sequel. And the best candidate for that? Obviously, it's Bane. I'll give you another take of that. Obviously, it's Bane. Bane is one of the Batman villains who hasn't really gotten a fair shake in the live-action movies. The first time he showed up, it was in the embarrassing Batman and Robin film with Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and a Bat credit card. Never leave home without it. But it was just as the role of a jacked-up henchman. The less said about that movie, the better. Of course, Bane was front and center in Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises movie, but just when you thought he was implementing his master plan, you find out he was still basically a henchman to the movie's real villain, Talia al Ghul. Here's the big thing. Bane shouldn't be a henchman. Sure, he has the brawny, macho look of someone who would make a terrifying bruiser to any main villain, but he's actually extremely smart and a brilliant tactician. If you need proof, just look over at his most famous comic storyline where he cracked Batman's back like a glow stick. Sure, this individual moment emphasized just how strong Bane is when he's jacked up on his venom, but there's so much more to this storyline than that shocking attack. Bane didn't just wake up one day and decide, I'm going to fight Batman, and then go out with the insatiable urge to break the superhero's back. It was all part of an extremely well-thought-out, careful plan that saw Bane work to break the Bat both physically and mentally. The first step in Bane's plan was to wear Batman down. He plotted a massive prison escape from Arkham that saw all the big league villains like Joker, Riddler, Scarecrow, and Poison Ivy, as well as some small fries like Firefly, Zsasz, and the Mad Hatter run wild in the streets of Gotham. Yes, I know Arkham is basically a revolving door when it comes to villains, but for all these villains to break out at once, that's madness. It drove Batman to his limits as he insisted on doing this alone without the help of Robin or anybody else. So already, Bane proved himself to be a smart tactician, but if that wasn't enough, he went above and beyond and also was able to suss out Batman's real identity. Did you know the billionaire Bruce Wayne secretly dresses up like a bat every night to fight crime? Scandalous. And Bane used this to his advantage. After Batman was wiped out thanks to all those villains, Bane attacked him in the Batcave where the infamous back-breaking scene takes place. Bane broke the Bat in every sense of the word, and it makes him one of the most terrifying Batman villains ever. Of course, things don't stay this way, and Batman eventually returns thanks to some mystic help and a long rehabilitation period. But besides being just an extremely traumatic event, it highlighted Batman's need for a Bat family, and forced him to reevaluate his priorities as a crime fighter. So how does this relate to the upcoming movie? There's actually a fairly easy way to tie in the comic storyline organically while setting the stage for Bane to rise up as the main villain in the sequel. Do you know how tired Robert Pattinson's Batman will be by the end of this movie? Not only does he have to deal with Penguin and the Riddler, but he'll also probably be all knotted up on the inside thanks to Catwoman, as well as also work to deal with Gotham's biggest crime lord, Carmine Falcone. Like, that just makes me tired for Batman. After the movie, Batman deserves a nice long vacation to somewhere tropical. But that ain't gonna happen. Instead, it would be the perfect time for a new villain to rise up for the sequel to push Batman to his limits. and nobody fits that role better than Bane. And the great thing is how this new version of Bane could differentiate from Tom Hardy's version of the character. Besides probably having a mask that's actually understandable this time, there are a number of improvements that could be made to the character in this new continuity. Nolan's Bane tried to be as incredibly grounded and realistic as possible, which you could argue was a real hindrance to the character. One of the most interesting aspects about Bane is how he uses a superhuman steroid called Venom to make himself stronger and scarier. That's a comic book element that was underplayed in the past, but with the Batman, it gives a chance to really explore the ramifications of this super drug. There's a nice parallel that could be drawn between Bane using steroids to become stronger and Batman's desire to be the hero the city needs. Even with all of his training, money, and abilities, Bane still can beat Bruce Wayne, which would force Bruce to evaluate what measures he has to go to in order to beat this villain. And it wouldn't be difficult to lay the groundwork for Bane in the new movie either. All they have to do is throw in some mention of Venom, and the rest is history. They even could introduce Bane in another film first. There were rumblings that Dave Bautista would show up in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Although it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, you can't argue that Bautista would be a great choice for Bane. And it does present an interesting way to connect DC's shared universe. If Bane shows up first in the Suicide Squad, then that's a good way to tease audiences with an appearance in The Batman. The point is, Bane is one of Batman's greatest villains, and he deserves a movie to really showcase his talents, and with the groundwork already established in The Batman, it's logical to work in the buff baddie in the sequel. And I've spent a lot of time talking about how terrifying Bane is on his own, and that's understandable. He looks like a guy who could punch you into the upper atmosphere if you accidentally stepped on his foot while walking by. The dude just oozes menace, and he's truly a force to be reckoned with. But being a spooky villain's really only half the battle when it comes to being memorable. What's really important is how the new version of Bane will interact with this new version of Batman. Because the secret to being a great villain is how you dance and spar with the hero. Look at all your favorite superhero movies out there, and I would bet $1 million bucks that most of them have an interesting, dynamic, and engaging villain at its core. Because watching a hero be heroic is great, but watching a hero go up against a truly awesome villain, and that's simply fantastic. Introducing Bane now into the new Bat continuity promises to switch up the normal dynamic between the hero and villain. Usually, Batman's experienced by the time Bane rolls up to challenge him, but now things might be a little different. Pattinson seems to be relatively new to crime fighting in The Batman. Sure, it's not another origin story or anything like that, but it does feel like this Bruce Wayne only recently decided to become Gotham City's Dark Knight, and his entire mission and moral philosophy will be challenged by someone like Bane. In a lot of ways, Bane could fill the Joker-sized hole in this new series of films. Because yes, I know that the Joker is Batman's greatest enemy in every way. They're two sides of the same coin. Light and dark, push and pull, yin and yang, all that jazz. Everything Batman tries to do is always challenged and tested by the agent of chaos known as the Joker. But unless some divine intervention happens, I don't see Joker showing up in this retooled version of the DCEU. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was a smash hit, and I don't think Warner Bros. Wants to confuse people with inserting another Joker into circulation. And after Jared Leto's polarizing performance, along with how they handled the character in Birds of Prey, it doesn't look like he'll be back anytime soon. So although it's unfortunate we probably won't get a Batman and Joker fight anytime soon, it's time for a new villain to step up and challenge the hero in unique and interesting ways. And once again, Bane is more than up for the task. And in a lot of ways, Bane's even scarier than the Joker. The Joker loves chaos and to be unpredictable, but Bane systematically and tactically destroys his enemies' lives. That's a lot harder to combat and overcome when you're just starting out with the whole crime-fighting routine. That's like if somebody asked you, do you want to fight a brutally strong, jacked-up superhuman who knows all your weaknesses and how to destroy every part of your life? Or do you want to fight an unpredictable guy in clown makeup who laughs a lot? Sorry, Joker, but physically, we think we'd have better odds against you. So, can you imagine the epic on-screen rivalry that can be built between Robert Pattinson's Batman and the next Bane? It could truly be something special. Much like how Batman Begins set up the idea of escalation with a Joker tease at the end, leading to a sequel that pitted Batman against a chaotic force that forever changed him, we could see something similar with this next series of films. The Batman could introduce us to a new Batman in a city overrun with criminals. And just when he gets it all under control by the end of the movie, we're introduced to a new threat that promises something bigger and better for the next film. Bane has always been somewhat underutilized no matter what film or TV cartoon he's been a part of. But that could all change if done right. He's not usually a villain who's listed on Batman's greatest enemies list, with normal villains like Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, etc. usually hogging the spotlight. But why? Bane in the comics has done more personal damage to Batman than almost any other villain, so why isn't he talked about more? The Bane we've already seen in live action was also overshadowed by Heath Ledger's Joker, as well as a breathing apparatus that made him more of a punchline than anything else. It's time Bane reclaimed his rightful place as one of Batman's greatest enemies, and thanks to the upcoming movie, I think that's finally going to happen. I really hope Bane shows up in one of the next Batman films. What about you? Do you think Bane should make an appearance soon? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more awesome superhero content. Thanks for watching CBR.